Let me tell you something that most people don't hear enough. You are not being attacked because you're weak. You're being attacked because you're a threat. The devil isn't chasing after people who are sitting still in spiritual sleep. No, he's chasing after the ones who are on the movie. He's terrified of the chosen ones who dare to wake up and walk in purpose. And that's why he wants you to quit. See, some of you are wondering, why am I going through all this pressure? Why am I constantly fighting battles I didn't even ask for? Why do I feel like quitting even though I started out so full of hope? And I'll tell you, it's not because you're losing. It's because you're close to winning. It's not because you're weak. It's because you're a warrior. The enemy saw the fire in you before you saw it in yourself. He recognized your calling before you even answered it. That's the real reason for the pressure. That's the real reason behind the storm. The devil isn't reacting to who you are right now. He's reacting to who you're about to become. He knows what you're capable of if you ever fully surrender to your purpose. He knows the kind of destruction you'd bring to his kingdom if you ever stopped doubting yourself and started walking in boldness. He knows the lives you'd touch, the hearts you'd heal, the captives you'd set free. He knows your potential, and that's why he's doing everything he can to break your spirit before you realize who you really are. You might think it's coincidence that the moment you got serious about your future, hell got serious about stopping you. It's no coincidence. It's strategy. The devil has studied you. He knows when to whisper lies, when to stir up chaos, when to send discouragement wrapped in familiar voices. He knows how to make quitting look like relief. He knows how to dress it up so it doesn't look like surrender. He tells you, just rest, just walk away. This path is too hard and clearly it's not working. But listen closely, that's not relief talking. That's deception. Because deep down, you can feel it. This isn't just a random rough patch. This isn't just a little discouragement. This is war. A full-blown spiritual attack on your future. You can feel the weight of it pressing on your chest. You can feel the fatigue in your spirit. And yet, something inside you refuses to let go. That's not weakness. That's strength. That's proof that God placed something in you the enemy cannot steal. He can shake you, distract you, even knock you down, but he cannot remove what God has sealed inside you. I want you to look at your battle differently. That depression you're fighting, it's not a sign you're losing. It's a sign the enemy fears what will happen if you break free. That anxiety that grips your chest in the middle of the night, that's the devil trying to keep you in chains because he knows you're about to unlock someone else's prison when you get free from yours. That discouragement you feel when your plans fall apart, when people betray you, when life doesn't look like the promise God gave you, that's not failure. That's resistance. Resistance is the enemy's last defense against unstoppable momentum. And hear me when I say this, if you were truly finished, if your purpose had no more power, if your calling had no more weight, you wouldn't be under attack. You'd be ignored. But you're not being ignored. You're being hunted. That tells me something about you. That tells me you carry a spiritual weapon so dangerous that hell had to mobilize forces to try and disarm you. That tells me you've got something in you the devil can't kill unless you surrender it. And that's why quitting is the only thing he's banking on, because he knows he can't take it by force. He has to convince you to hand it over. Now I want you to picture this. Picture the devil pacing back and forth every time you get back up. Picture him growing frustrated every time you worship through tears. Every time you pray, even though you're exhausted. Every time you choose to keep going, even when nothing makes sense. That kind of perseverance, it's devastating to the enemy because it tells him something he doesn't want to believe, that you're learning to fight with faith, that you're becoming unshakable, that your power doesn't come from comfort or clarity, but from conviction. Conviction doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers, keep going. Sometimes it groans in pain and still stands. Sometimes it crawls through the fire just to say, I'm not done yet. And those are the moments the enemy dreads most when you choose to believe anyway. When you choose to trust the one who called you, even when everything around you says, quit. Oh, the enemy wanted you to quit back when they walked away and left you. He thought that betrayal would break you, but it didn't. He thought the sickness would silence you, but you kept praying. He thought the losses would bury you, but here you are, still breathing, still believing. And if that doesn't speak of divine protection, I don't know what does. You've survived too much to surrender now. The fight you're in isn't proof of defeat. It's proof of destiny. You see, when God anoints someone, He doesn't give them a life of ease. He gives them a life of purpose, and purpose comes with pressure. If you're chosen, you're going to face things others don't understand. You'll feel like quitting more times than you'll admit. But even when you're on your knees, even when you feel empty, even when you cry out and hear nothing back, you're still chosen. You are still dangerous. You are still destined for victory. And maybe right now you're feeling like you're on the edge. Maybe you're tired of fighting battles you don't understand. Maybe you've been tempted to throw in the towel. But I came to remind you of something holy, something urgent. You don't fight alone. You never have. There is a God who fights for you. A God who strengthens you when you can't take another step. A God who anointed you not just for comfort, but for conquest. The devil isn't trying to take your stuff. He's trying to take your surrender. But every time you wake up and choose to try again, even when you don't feel strong, that's a slap in the enemy's face. Every time you stand up again after falling, every time you say, not today, even when you feel like quitting, that's warfare. You're not just surviving, you're preaching with your persistence. So I dare you, yes, I dare you to keep fighting. Not because it's easy, not because everything will suddenly make sense, but because the enemy is counting on your silence, because the enemy is praying for your exhaustion to win. Because your fight isn't just about you, it's about every soul connected to your destiny, every person you'll lift, every chain you'll break, every legacy you'll ignite. You don't realize it yet, but your perseverance is preaching louder than your voice ever could. Your tears are watering seeds you don't even see yet. Your pain is shaping a testimony that will one day pull someone else out of their pit. The devil knows that. That's why he wants you to quit. But heaven knows too. That's why God keeps breathing strength into your lungs day after day, moment after moment. And if you've heard nothing else I've said, hear this. The battle is proof. Proof that you're alive. Proof that you're chosen. Proof that you carry something powerful. So don't quit. Not now. Not ever. Stand up, wipe your tears, square your shoulders, and fight like someone who knows the victory is already written. Keep fighting because your fire makes hell tremble. The devil can't steal your destiny. That's one thing you need to know deep in your bones. He doesn't have the keys to your future. He doesn't hold the pen to your story. But if he can't take it, he'll try something else. He'll try to talk you into giving it up yourself. That's the strategy. That's the real battlefield. Not in the chaos around you, but in the quiet places of your heart where the temptation to quit whispers loudest. He knows something we often forget, that quitting isn't just about walking away from something hard. Quitting is about surrendering something holy. You were born with divine fingerprints all over your life. You were called by name. You were knit together with purpose before you ever opened your eyes in this world. The devil can't erase what God wrote, but he sure will try to convince you to stop reading the script. And let's be honest, it's tempting, especially when the road gets long and the storms don't pass quickly. You start to question if it's even worth it. You wonder if the dream was real or just your imagination. You question the calling. You question yourself. The devil loves to watch this happen. He loves when doubt starts to eat away at the foundation of your faith. He doesn't need to chain your body. He just needs to chain your belief. The moment you start thinking, maybe I wasn't meant to do this, maybe I'm not good enough, Maybe this isn't my path after all. That's when he strikes. Not with thunder and lightning, but with silence, with isolation, with unanswered prayers and closed doors. He doesn't need to fight you with fire if he can freeze you with fear. And I know some of you are right there. You've been faithful. You've tried your best. You've prayed the prayers and cried the tears, but now you're exhausted. You're worn down. You're standing at the edge of something on one side, the promise on the other, the pain. And the enemy is whispering, let it go. You gave it your all. Walk away before it gets worse. But I came to tell you that walking away now would be like leaving a gold mine because you hit a rock. It would be like turning back from the promised land because the giants look too tall. And don't forget, giants only show up in places where destiny lives. If there are giants, it means you're getting close. You see, the devil isn't after your peace. He's after your influence. He doesn't care if you're happy or sad. He cares if you're effective. He's terrified of a believer who refuses to quit even when they're bleeding, because that kind of faith, that kind of grit, that's what changes things. That's what flips legacies and transforms cities. That's what shakes hell. Let me make it plain, quitting looks easier because the battle is intense. But ease is not evidence of purpose. Comfort is not the same as calling. Some of you were meant to walk through fire not because God wants to see you suffer, but because He knows there's someone behind you who will need the blueprint for survival. Your endurance is going to unlock someone else's deliverance, and the devil knows that too. That's why he'll throw every discouragement he can find at you. He'll use people to hurt you. He'll use delays to frustrate you. He'll use silence from heaven to make you feel forgotten. But child of God, listen, being tested is not the same as being abandoned. God is still with you, even in the fire, even in the silence, even in the tears you cry that no one else sees. He's there, and He's not just watching, He's working. He's shaping you. He's building something in you that can't be built in comfort. He's forging resilience, integrity, trust. He's teaching you to rely not on applause, not on results, not on immediate reward, but on Him alone. You don't need a sign. You don't need everything to make sense. What you need is to remember what He said before the storm started. That word still stands. That promise still holds. The enemy wants you to forget it. That's his trick to make the valley feel like the end. But the valley is not your burial ground. It's your proving ground. And here's the twist. The enemy doesn't just want you to quit the hard thing. He wants you to quit the holy thing. The relationship God ordained, the ministry He placed in your hands, the gift He birthed inside you. That dream, He whispered when you were still too young to know what it meant. If He can get you to walk away from that, He doesn't need to steal it. You gave it up. But I believe something stronger is rising up in you. A holy refusal, a sacred defiance. The kind that says, no matter how hard it gets, I will not surrender what God has given me. You've come too far. You've survived too much. You've seen too many miracles. You've had too many confirmations. You didn't come this far to quit now. And if you could only see what's on the other side of this test, if you could get a glimpse of the doors about to open, the chains about to break, the favor that's about to hit your life, you wouldn't even consider quitting. That's why the devil fights you hardest right before breakthrough. He knows. He sees the shift coming. He feels the spiritual momentum, and it scares him. Don't you dare let him win by default. Don't you let weariness talk louder than purpose. Don't you let temporary pain erase eternal promises. You were not created to live in surrender to fear. You were created to walk in victory. Yes, the fight is real. Yes, it's hard. But grace is harder. Faith is fiercer. And God's plan is still unfolding. You think you're at the end, but what if you're just at the threshold? What if the next step you take, no matter how heavy, is the one that breaks everything open? What if your obedience in this moment is the very thing that makes the devil regret ever coming after you? Because make no mistake, when a believer refuses to quit, even while they bleed, even while they break, the kingdom of darkness panics. It only takes one person, one heart fully surrendered, one soul that says, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. That's all it takes to change a bloodline, to rewrite a generation, to echo through eternity. And you, chosen one, you are that person. So hold on a little longer. Pray when you feel nothing. Worship when you're surrounded by silence. Speak the promises out loud when the lies get loud in your head. This fight isn't just about you. It's about every soul tied to your victory. Your children, your future, your legacy. The devil is desperate, and desperate enemies make reckless moves. That's why it's gotten harder. That's why the pressure increased. But you were built for pressure. You were made for this. You carried divine DNA. Royal blood flows through your veins. You were called to conquer, not to quit. So straighten your back, lift your head, shake off the dust, and remind hell that you're still standing. Remind yourself that quitting is not an option. Remind your spirit that even in weakness, God's strength is made perfect. You didn't come this far just to come this far. Keep fighting, because quitting hands the devil a victory he never earned. There's a kind of silence that screams louder than any storm. A kind of waiting that feels like drowning while standing still. You've prayed and you've waited. You've obeyed and you've hoped, but nothing. No answer. No breakthrough. No sign. Just delay. Just the ticking clock, the unanswered call, the door that never opened. And it's in this waiting, in this strange and painful in-between, that the enemy slithers in like a whisper on the wind. Not with a roar, not with a bang, but with a question. Where is your God now? You see, the devil doesn't need to attack your calling if he can attack your confidence in the one who called you. He won't always come for your hands. He'll come for your faith. He'll make you look at delay and call it denial. He'll take that holy pause and paint it as rejection. He'll point to your pain and say, this is proof that you've been forgotten. But let me tell you something that hell doesn't want you to remember. God's silence is never abandonment, and his delay is not denial. Heaven moves at a different rhythm. The author of time is not bound by time. What feels like a lifetime to you is only a breath to him. And while you're down here pacing the floor, wondering why it hasn't happened yet, heaven is working on something bigger than you imagine. Now, don't you think for a second that delay means God changed his mind? That's what the enemy wants. He wants to twist the waiting room into a graveyard. He wants you to give up right before God steps in. He wants you to pack up your faith just before the miracle walks through the door. That's his strategy. Get you so focused on the clock that you forget about the promise. But what if the waiting is not punishment? What if it's preparation? You see, God knows what's on the other side. He knows the weight of the blessing, the magnitude of the calling, the strength required to carry what he's about to place in your hand. He's not just preparing the promise for you, he's preparing you for the promise. And that takes time. But the enemy doesn't want you to see the value in that. No, he wants you impatient. He wants you desperate. Because a desperate soul is easier to deceive. You'll start opening doors God never knocked on. You'll settle for things God never sent. You'll start calling good what God never called holy. That's the danger in delay. If you don't stay rooted in truth, you'll lose yourself in the tension. You'll say, maybe I missed it. Maybe this wasn't my calling. Maybe I misheard him. And while you're tangled up in those doubts, the enemy just steps back, smiling, because his work is almost done. He doesn't need to destroy your future, just convince you to walk away from it. But child of God, lean in close. This waiting, this ache, this long stretch of silence, it's not empty. Heaven is not ignoring you. It's incubating you. You're not being delayed, you're being developed. You're not being denied, you're being deepened. God is stretching your roots because the weight of what's coming will require a deeper foundation. And isn't that like him? To show up 4 days after the funeral, when everyone else gave up, to call forth life from what people swore was dead. Don't you dare confuse his timing with his absence. He is not late. He is strategic. And while you're staring at the door, wondering when he'll knock, he's already in the room rearranging the atmosphere. But here comes the twist. Sometimes delay is mercy. You wanted it now. You prayed for it last year. You cried for it last night. But what if he said, not yet, because he saw what you couldn't? What if the door didn't open because it would lead to destruction? What if the person you were begging him for was a detour dressed like destiny? The enemy will never show you that side. He'll only show you the clock. He'll only point out the silence. But God sees the whole story. And sometimes his greatest gifts are the prayers he didn't answer the way you expected. But I know. That doesn't make it easy. It doesn't soothe the ache when you're tired of believing, when your hands are tired of holding on, when your voice is tired of praying the same prayer over and over, wondering if heaven is listening. Let me tell you, heaven is listening, and God is not ignoring you. He's investing in you. The waiting is not a punishment, it's a sign that he trusts you with time. That he believes you're mature enough to hold on without needing to see it all right away. That's faith. Not walking on water. Not moving mountains. Faith is waiting when you'd rather run. Standing when everything says to sit down. Believing when you have every reason to doubt. And some of you, you're in that exact place right now. You've been waiting for healing, for breakthrough, for restoration, for that door to open, for the season to shift. You're wondering, why haven't things changed yet? Why is it taking so long? But maybe the better question is, what is God changing in me while I wait? Because here's the thing, if the devil can't rob your blessing, he'll try to rob your posture. He'll try to get you bitter in the waiting, jealous, distracted, lazy. He wants to poison your purpose with frustration. But you can't afford to let your character decay while your miracle is being prepared. And don't let other people's timelines distract you. Their journey is not your journey. Their chapter 20 is not your chapter 5. Stop scrolling through someone else's highlight reel while you're living through your behind the scenes. Your story is still being written, and the pen is still in God's hands. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not happening. Just because you haven't seen the fruit doesn't mean the seed isn't growing. The devil wants you to forget that God is a gardener and gardeners work in the dirt before they work in the daylight. So don't despise the dirt. Don't curse the delay. This is where roots are built. This is where faith gets strong. This is where you learn that you can worship even when there's no wind in your sails. That your song can rise even when your situation doesn't shift. That your fire doesn't come from comfort, but from conviction. Because at the end of the day, what if the very thing you call delay is the thing that's protecting you? What if it's not a no, but a not yet? What if it's not rejection, but redirection? What if God is holding you back from something now because he's preparing something far better later? The enemy hates that thought. He hates when you start trusting God, even in the fog, because then he can't manipulate you with silence. He can't lie to you through waiting. He can't twist your hope. He wants you to act out of impulse. God wants you to act out of intimacy. The devil pushes. God prepares. And when he finally says now, when the green light comes, you won't just be ready for the blessing, you'll be strong enough to sustain it. So don't let go. Don't give up just because the clock kept ticking. God hasn't forgotten you. He's not ignoring you. He's investing in your tomorrow by shaping your today. And when it finally comes, and it will, you'll look back and see that the delay wasn't a detour. It was divine design. Your time is coming. Hold the line. The delay is only the setup for something greater. And quitting now would mean missing everything God's been building behind the curtain. Don't you dare confuse his delay for denial. Some of you listening tonight are wondering why all hell seems to have broken loose against your life. You're wondering why the enemy keeps showing up at your doorstep uninvited and relentless. Why the opposition feels stronger now than ever before. Why the time you tries to drag you down. You're asking, why me? Why now? Why this much pain? But maybe the better question is, what am I carrying that has hell so nervous? Because let me tell you something the devil doesn't want you to hear. He does not waste ammo. He doesn't attack empty vessels. He doesn't chase after people who pose no threat to his plans. He's not panicked over casual believers, over people playing church or tiptoeing around purpose. No, he is terrified of the ones carrying something dangerous, something divine, something disruptive to his agenda. If you've been under pressure, under fire, under spiritual attack, you better listen closely. That's not a sign you're weak. That's not proof God has left you. It's the opposite. It's confirmation that you are carrying something that makes the kingdom of darkness tremble. The enemy doesn't fight what he's not afraid of. You see, the devil saw something in you before you even knew what it was. He saw the call, the mantle, the anointing. And so he did what he does. He launched a war against your future. Not because of who you were, but because of who you'd become. Not because of what you've done, but because of what you're about to do. And if you're feeling that heat, if you've been through storm after storm, betrayal after betrayal, warfare that doesn't make sense, it's because you're walking around pregnant with purpose. And the contractions have started. That's why everything is shaking. That's why your peace has been under siege. That's why your mind's been targeted with anxiety and fear. Because the devil knows that something holy is about to be born through you, and he's trying to abort it before it sees the light of day. But what he doesn't understand is that pressure doesn't break you, it builds you. That fire he sent to burn you is only refining you. That storm he stirred to drown you is the very one God will use to elevate you. Every time the enemy comes in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord lifts up a standard against him. Do you remember Job? The devil didn't attack him out of boredom. He attacked him because he was blessed, because he was upright, because he was favored. That attack wasn't random, it was recognition. And I came to tell someone, your warfare is a compliment. That resistance, that heaviness, that spiritual fatigue that makes you want to quit, it's not punishment. It's a signal. You've stepped into territory that the enemy used to own. You're rattling the gates of his domain, and now he's sending everything he can to push you back. But don't be fooled by the pressure. Don't misinterpret the pain. You are closer than you've ever been to breakthrough. And that's exactly why it hurts so much. Because the enemy knows he's running out of time to stop you. He knows that if you survive this season, you're going to snatch souls from the fire. You're going to tear down strongholds. You're going to break generational curses. And he can't afford for you to keep moving forward. That's why he's attacking your mind. That's why you can't sleep. That's why discouragement feels like it's stalking you. That's why everything that once seemed stable now feels shaky. But listen to me, you are not under attack because you're failing. You are under attack because you're succeeding. You are advancing. You are growing. You are becoming. And hell has noticed. This is not the time to retreat. This is not the moment to shrink back. This is when you plant your feet, grit your teeth, and say, if God be for me, who can be against me? Because make no mistake, the attack isn't just about you. It's about everyone connected to your assignment. It's about your family, your children, the people watching you, the ones who will be set free because you chose to fight instead of fold, the ones who will rise because you refuse to run. You're not just fighting for your life. You're fighting for legacy, for kingdom impact, for the kind of purpose that echoes in eternity. And yes, I know it's exhausting. Some of you are battle-worn. You've been smiling in public and crying in private. You've been showing up while breaking down. You've been serving while silently suffering. And the enemy thinks he has you right where he wants you. But he made one mistake. He let you live. And if you're still breathing, you're still dangerous. Because your scars are proof you survive. And survival is resistance. It means the enemy tried his best shot and failed. You're still here. And as long as you're still here, purpose is still alive. Let me give you a twist the devil never saw coming. The very weapon he used against you, God will use for your breakthrough. The same betrayal that broke you will be the testimony that builds others. The same pain that threatened your faith will be the fuel that ignites it. What the enemy meant for evil, God will turn for good. You remember Joseph? His own brothers threw him in a pit. He was sold, falsely accused, imprisoned. And yet, when it was all said and done, he stood in front of the very people who betrayed him and said, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." That's not just a story, it's a pattern. It's divine strategy. God takes the attacks of the enemy and rewrites them into testimonies of triumph. He flips the script. He takes ashes and makes beauty. He turns mourning into dancing. He takes crucifixion and brings resurrection. And the enemy can't stop it. He can delay it, distract from it, discourage you out of it, but he can't destroy it. Because what God has ordained, no devil in hell can overturn. But here's the part that's going to sting a little. You have to keep fighting, even when it's not fair. Even when it doesn't make sense. Even when your heart is heavy and your hands are tired. Because the only way the enemy wins is if you quit. He can't steal your calling, but he can convince you to walk away from it. He can't erase your destiny, but he can wear you down until you stop showing up for it. And that's what this attack is really about, exhaustion. He wants you too tired to believe, too tired to pray. too tired to dream again. But tonight, I speak strength into your spirit. I speak fire into your bones. I speak wind into your sails. Because this fight is worth it. What you're carrying is holy. It's rare. And it's needed. The world doesn't need more people playing it safe. It needs warriors who have been through the fire and came out carrying the flame. Don't be ashamed of your battle. Own it, because it's shaping you. It's sharpening you. It's qualifying you. God is using what hurt you to reveal what's in you. And when the smoke clears, when the dust settles, when the enemy realizes he couldn't take you out, he's going to regret ever picking this fight. Because now you've got fire in your belly. Now you've got authority. Now you've got a testimony that breaks chains. So stand firm. Wipe your tears. Square your shoulders and keep fighting. Because the attack is proof of the anointing. The warfare is proof of the weight you carry. The pressure is the announcement that something powerful is about to break through. You're not under attack because you're weak. You're under attack because you're a weapon. There's something strange about the way God works. Something holy but uncomfortable. Because while we often pray for ease, for comfort, for open doors and smooth paths, God being the wise and eternal architect that He is knows better. He knows that strength is not formed in silence. That power is not cultivated in peace. That destiny does not rise in the absence of struggle. No, my friend, destiny is forged in the heat of resistance. That's why some of you feel like you've been walking uphill your entire life. Like nothing ever came easy for you. You've watched others get celebrated while you got overlooked. You've seen doors open for people who didn't work half as hard as you did. You've tried, prayed, fought, waited, and still, it's felt like something has been pressing against you, holding you back. But what if I told you that the very thing pushing against you is what's been preparing you? What if the mountain you've been trying to move was the weight God ordained to strengthen you? You see, the enemy wants you to see resistance as rejection, as if God is holding out on you, as if the struggle means you're disqualified. But that's not the truth. The truth is that resistance is divine preparation. It's not punishment, it's process. It's not denial, it's development. If you've ever been to a gym, you know that you don't grow stronger by sitting still. You grow when there's tension, when there's opposition, when the weight gets heavy and your muscles cry out and you push through anyway. That's how endurance is built. That's how capacity is expanded. And God, the master trainer, knows just how much weight you can handle to build the spiritual muscle you need for what's coming. That's why He didn't let certain things come easy. That's why He allowed some doors to close. That's why He didn't answer that prayer the way you asked. Not because He doesn't love you, but because He loves you too much to let you arrive unprepared. He's building you for where you're going. And yes, it hurts. Yes, it feels lonely. Yes, it can feel unfair. But oh, if you only knew what's on the other side of this battle, you'd praise Him even in the pressure. Think about David. Before he ever stood in front of Goliath, before he ever wore a crown or sat on a throne, he was alone in a field fighting lions and bears. No crowd, no applause, just resistance. But that resistance built something in him, a resilience that prepared him to face giants. And here's the twist. If God had delivered David from the lion or the bear too quickly, he wouldn't have had the strength or the faith to face Goliath when it mattered most. So maybe the reason God hasn't removed your battle is because it's the very thing preparing you for victory. I know it doesn't feel like it now, But one day you'll look back on this season and say, that's where God made me. That's where my spirit was strengthened. That's where I learned to trust him not because of what I saw, but because of who he is. The enemy wants you to believe that the pain means you're losing, but in the kingdom, pain is a signal that growth is happening, that roots are going deeper, that your foundation is being reinforced. God doesn't build skyscrapers on sand. He digs deep. He lays a foundation that can bear the weight of the blessing he's about to place on your life. And digging is uncomfortable. It breaks ground. It shakes things. It gets messy. But without it, you cannot rise. Some of you have been crying out, God, take this away. But maybe the better prayer is, God, use this to build me. Because God is not just interested in blessing you, he's interested in preparing you to carry the blessing without it crushing you. That's why he allows resistance, not to break you, but to fortify you. He's building patience through the waiting. He's building compassion through the heartbreak. He's building wisdom through the silence. He's building humility through the rejection. He's building fire through the failure. Every time the enemy tries to take you out, God uses that very moment to take you deeper, to anchor you in ways you never would have chosen, but now you can't live without. You've learned how to pray because you had no other option. You've learned how to worship with tears in your eyes. You've learned how to praise not because life was perfect, but because you knew who was holding your life together. That's resilience. That's what the enemy cannot counterfeit. He can mimic power. He can fake success. But he cannot create endurance born through the Spirit of God. And that, my friend, is what makes you dangerous. You see, resilience is not about having it all together. It's about refusing to stay down when life knocks you to the floor. It's about getting back up again. It's about believing when nothing makes sense. It's about trusting that every time you keep walking, heaven is watching and your steps are being ordered. The devil is terrified of a believer who refuses to quit. He doesn't know what to do with someone who praises while bleeding, who worships while waiting, who smiles through the storm and says, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. And I'm talking to someone tonight who's been in a long fight, who's been in the fire longer than you ever expected. You've been praying, fasting, sowing, serving, but the battle hasn't let up. Let me tell you, that's not a sign you're failing. It's a sign you're close. Because the enemy doesn't waste his best weapons on people going nowhere. You are right on the edge of breakthrough, and he knows it. That's why resistance has intensified. That's why it feels like you're being squeezed on every side. But what the enemy doesn't understand is that you've been built for this. Every battle has made you stronger. Every disappointment has sharpened your discernment. Every delay has deepened your dependence on God. You're not the same person who started this journey. You're wiser now. You're bolder now. You're tougher now. And that resilience is heaven's answer to hell's resistance. God is building you for a level the enemy can't access. And it takes time. It takes breaking. It takes resistance. But when it's done, you will rise with power that no demon in hell can shake. Do you want to know why some blessings are still waiting? Because if God gave them to you too soon, you'd fumble them. But when he finishes this work in you, when you've been tempered in the fire, when the clay has been pressed, shaped, refined, you'll be ready to carry it. And the world will look at you and think it happened overnight. They won't see the nights you cried yourself to sleep. They won't see the battles you fought in silence. They won't see the resistance. But God saw it, and he will reward it. Because resilience in private leads to elevation in public. God is not punishing you. He's positioning you. Every resistance has a reason. Every no is guiding you toward a greater yes. Every delay is protection. Every tear is watering your future harvest. So don't despise the resistance. Don't curse the battle. Don't run from the fire. Let it shape you. Let it train you. Let it build the kind of faith that stands when the world falls apart. Because the people God uses most are the ones who've been through the most. And through it all, they never quit. So I urge you tonight, don't back down. Don't give in to the pressure. Don't trade your calling for comfort. Let the resistance push you into resilience. Because what God is building in you now will carry nations later. And one day, when you stand in the place God promised you, with tears streaming down your face and joy rising in your soul, you'll say, it was worth it. Every battle, every trial, every sleepless night, it was worth it. And in that moment, the resistance will make sense. You were never being broken, you were being built. There comes a point in the battle when it's no longer about how tired you are. It's no longer about how much you've lost or how long you've waited. It's not even about your own victory anymore. No, there's a deeper reason why you cannot quit now. There's a holy assignment on your life that stretches far beyond your personal pain, beyond your emotions, beyond this moment. Heaven is counting on you to endure because your victory is bigger than you. You see, there's a ripple effect to your obedience. There's an unseen audience watching you fight through this storm. And I don't just mean people around you, I mean generations after you. I mean the ones who will walk in freedom because you didn't quit in your captivity. The ones who will rise in hope because you kept praying when everything told you to stop. The ones who will carry fire because you refused to bow to the pressure. This is legacy level warfare. This isn't just about you winning, it's about you breaking something off your bloodline. It's about you conquering demons your parents didn't conquer. It's about ending cycles of fear, addiction, depression, shame. So the next generation starts higher than you ever did. And the enemy knows it. That's why the pressure's been heavy. That's why the attacks have been personal. That's why it's felt like everything you love has been under fire, your family, your faith, your identity, your peace. Because hell isn't just fighting your today, it's terrified of your tomorrow. But what the enemy meant to stop you, God is going to use to launch you. Because you weren't just chosen for comfort, you were chosen for conquest. And with that calling comes weight. It comes resistance. It comes fire. But hear me, what's at stake is too great for you to bow now. There are people tied to your victory, people you've never met, people you may never see, but they are waiting on the other side of your faithfulness. You think you're just enduring this trial for yourself? No. Heaven assigned you as a door opener, a chain breaker, a curse cutter. Your God is using to make it easier for those who come after you. And that's why quitting is not an option. Not because you're strong enough, but because God is. Not because it's easy, but because eternity is watching. There are angels dispatched because you decided to stay in the fight. There are demons trembling because you keep showing up, even wounded. There are assignments shifting in the spirit realm because you still believe. And yes, it's heavy. Yes, you get tired. Yes, there are nights you wonder, God, is this really worth it? But let me tell you it is. It's worth it because your obedience is birthing something eternal. It's worth it because your suffering is producing a glory that outweighs the pain. It's worth it Because what you're pushing through is not just a battle, it's a birth canal. Heaven doesn't send glory without groaning. Revival doesn't come without resistance. Because God isn't just looking for the strongest, He's looking for the faithful, the ones who serve when no one claps, the ones who cry but still choose to believe. And if that's you, if you've been fighting, broken, bleeding, yet still believing, then I've got news for you. You're closer than you think. Your endurance is echoing in eternity. Your faith is doing more than you realize. Your story is prophesying to someone else's storm right now. Because someone out there is watching you and saying, if they can keep going through that, maybe I can too. And just like that, your endurance becomes someone else's encouragement. Your fight becomes someone else's fuel. Your scars become someone else's survival guide. That's why the enemy wants to silence you. That's why he wants to shut your testimony down. Because he knows that your voice is dangerous, that your breakthrough is contagious, that your survival screams, God is still faithful. Listen to me, God is raising up people who don't need the crowd, who don't need the spotlight, who don't need the comfort. They just need the call. And once they hear it, nothing can stop them. I believe you're one of those people. That's why you've been through so much. That's why you were hit so early. That's why the enemy tried to break your spirit before you even knew who you were. Because there's something on your life that can't be manufactured, something eternal, something holy. It's not charisma. It's not popularity. It's endurance. The kind that says, even if I lose it all, I'll still trust him. The kind that says, I may be wounded, but I'm still moving. The kind that says, I don't see the way, but I know who makes the way. You are not forgotten. You are not failing. You are not falling behind. You are being forged. You are being positioned. You are being hidden in God for the right moment. And when that moment comes, when the curtain lifts and the oil flows, you will walk out not just with a testimony, but with authority. Because nothing hits like a word from someone who's been through the fire. Nothing breaks chains like praise from someone who praised in the pit. And nothing shakes hell like a believer who knows they weren't supposed to make it, but God kept them anyway. So don't quit. Don't stop. Don't sell your calling for comfort. Don't trade the eternal for the temporary. Heaven is counting on you to endure, not just so you can win, but so you can lead others into victory. You're not just surviving for yourself. You're carrying something for your family, for your future, for your community, for the broken ones watching you, for the silent warriors needing someone to go first. You are the proof that endurance is still possible, that faith still works, that obedience still matters. And when this is all said and done, when you've crossed the finish line and stood in the fullness of the promise, heaven will erupt, and the Father will say, well done. Not because you were perfect, but because you endured, because you refused to give up. Because when quitting was easier, you chose to trust. So stand firm, beloved, because your victory is bigger than you.